Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Darshan Talks. We have our very frequent guest at this point, Angela Wagner, with us. And Angela, for those of you who haven't tuned into the last 92 separate streamcasts we've had so far, something like that.
93. I think it might be 93. Yeah.
Yeah. She is a student at the University of the Sciences. She's working on her master's degree in biomedical writing. She is interested in working on projects with other people, by the way, for those of you who are listening. But for now, she is working on getting a master's level thesis done. And the thesis she's working on is the development of trust between pharma and patients. So as we've been talking, I feel like your topic actually has evolved from why is there a lack of trust to how do you generate trust, which seems like it would be the same thing, but it's gotten more pointed over time, and I actually appreciate that in the topic and in you as you're developing your thesis. So it reminds me of when I was teaching you some of the other courses, and I used to keep telling you, is it relevant but necessary? And I feel like we're finally getting to the point where you've narrowed it down to a pencil point. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you. It only took 6 months.
It's supposed to be hard. If it was easy, you wouldn't be doing it.
That's true.
So Angela, you want to introduce yourself and we'll kind of go from there?
Sure. Well, my name is Angela Wagner. And as Darshan mentioned, I'm working on my master's thesis in biomedical writing at University of the Sciences. And well, here we are, capstone project time. And I'll just go quickly over the basics of the paper. The outline is still online at tinyurl.com/model of trust. It's still there if you want to see it. You're welcome to comment on it. And I still check it just about every day. So please, if you have a comment, leave me one.
Has anyone actually sent anything so far?
No one has sent anything, which could be really good or it could be really bad. It's either, well, it looks okay, or it's so bad I'm not going to bother. So
or it is so perfect. Touching it.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, it is so perfect because my faculty advisor has been so on top of things that there just could be nothing wrong with it.
I mean, it's practically a slap in my face if they find something wrong.
Oh, ouch. Yeah. On that note.
The goal is to actually get feedback. I mean, that's part of the analysis. We're doing something different. I was just discussing this with someone else. We think, as best as we know, this is the first PhD thesis that's being crowdsourced in the sense that we're asking for live feedback as we're working through the various phases of this master's level thesis. So I don't know anyone else who's done that. And I remember you and I talking about how terrifying it was before.
Well, it hasn't been that terrifying. And thinking about it, in terms of, from the standpoint of the paper being a project, that from a project management standpoint, it's much more efficient to have people critique an outline and a concept than to have, to wait until the paper is completely done or, the presentation is completely done and then have people go, well, it would have been more relevant if.
Right. And now you can go, well, you should have come on at that point. We had a lot of people who had the opportunity to do that.
There you go. So, yeah, I think it's great for efficiency, too.
There you go.
Good
okay.
Times. All right.
So recap things for us, by the way.
Okay. Recapping the paper real quick. So it's a new model. The model uses empirical studies that are 10 years old or less. And, the cornerstones of the model are benevolence, which is a value-added piece. There can be no direct benefit to the company. Attunement, which is a two-way construct. It involves awareness, response, and harmony. It can benefit the company directly. So that's how we get from, if benevolence is a healthcare provider directory with no direct benefit to the company, then attunement would be a patient assistance program, right? Benefits the company directly. Then we go into integrity, which is a set of qualities that suggest incorruptibility. For written communications, that would include objectivity, accuracy, and scientific references. And it is important to me that this model can work for written communications and interpersonal relationships. So, a lot of times these days we're dealing with intermediaries in terms of, say, brand websites. versus necessarily information that we've gotten from our doctor, let's say. And patients are going to websites first before they even see their doctors. So I think it's important to make sure we include written communications in a new model of trust. And the fourth bit is competence, which is a belief in the pharmaceutical company's advanced knowledge of a subject and the company's ability to explain this information in a way that the audience will understand without too much effort. So those are, yes.
And to clarify, each of these is cited from a journal article that people can reference. Have we shared the list of articles?
It's in the outline.
Okay, there we go.
At the end of the outline, we will see all the references, and there are a few. Okay. So yes, every point of this model is backed by empirical evidence that was done in a trust study, and the trust study had to include, live patients or live members of the public, because some of them are employee-employer studies, some are doctor-patient studies, some are researcher-patient studies, some are e-commerce studies. I mean, there's just a good mix of things because I didn't want to leave anything out that might be relevant.
Fair enough. And then you're doing original research.
And then original research. And my problem was, how do I test the model without live patients? Because I really wanted to test, actual patients and get their thoughts on the trust model, see how it worked, how they formed trust with a pharmaceutical company. But there were some limitations. My time frame is somewhat short, and it was kind of iffy if I could get the IRB to approve it and work with the IRB and get it all done in time. So I am not doing a human study. So instead, I am using a Twitter data analysis and a pharmaceutical website analysis. The point being, how can we correlate trust in a brand according to what the patients are saying with certain aspects of pharmaceutical brand websites. So correlation, not causation, but that is what I'm going for. So at this point in the project, I'm starting to do the actual research. I have finished my methodology. And so today we're just going to talk about what happened this week. So this week in the Trust Project. And if you look at the screen here, we can see my lovely Gantt chart that is keeping track. And so far I am on track. We can see that the 2nd of April is when my rough draft is due. And the 16th of April is when my final draft is due, and the slide deck that goes along with it. So those are the dates when I have to submit those to the professors for final review.
Okay.
So this week, working on Twitter data analysis and working on the manuscript. Manuscript is about 25% done, and Twitter data analysis is about 50% done. And
how are you defining 25% and 50%?
How? Well, for the manuscript, it's how much of the outline have I managed to get into the paper. So,
okay.
So about 25%, and it might be a little bit generous with myself, just a little bit. But I've given myself 7 weeks to finish it, so
got it.
And I think we're okay.
Yeah.
I think we'll be okay. As far as the Twitter data analysis, about half done, and actually on the slides we're going to talk a little bit more about what I'm doing in terms of the Twitter goodies. So let me go to the next slide. There we go. So you can see that this week I have been, sort of filling in my Excel spreadsheet. So I created 18 of these, one for each brand that I'm going to be evaluating. And this is just, the Twitter information. It was 2 weeks worth. Pulled 1 week in early January, and then we pulled last Saturday, I believe, or Sunday. I can't remember. Weekends, they just kind of,
So tell me this, so just so everyone knows, why did we do 2 separate polls?
Well, we did 2 polls to try and reduce bias or confounding, depending. Really, I don't think it would. Well, I mean, it could be bias. It could be either one. But trying to poll twice because at this point, Twitter is allowing, on the free developer account, they're allowing you to poll 100 tweets maximum and 7 days maximum. So if there were 100 tweets today, that's all I get. So it's a very small snapshot in time, and I wanted to have at least 2 in case there was some event that correlated to the day that I was pulling the tweets. I didn't want it to, mean that I had fewer relevant tweets, because I'm actually evaluating relevant tweets, and in a minute we'll see why. So I could evaluate the total number of tweets, which is up to 100 each time, so it would be 200 maximum. But I'm actually just going to evaluate the relevant ones, because sometimes we'll see, there will be some other event that will cause a lot of retweets for this one particular brand that are not relevant at all. And if I included them, then you would get some issues. So if we're looking at this slide here, it actually is just, it's a snapshot of one of the Excel spreadsheets that I was working on today. And I just wanted to show how I actually I'm going through and figuring out, how, is this a trusting tweet? Is it a distrusting tweet? I'm essentially doing a sentiment analysis, but I'm doing it by hand. And the reason that I'm doing this is that I ran a sentiment analysis, like a demo of one. And there's a lot of them out there. They're used a lot for social media marketing and whatnot. And the problem was that it gives you positive, negative, and neutral. And I need trusting, distrusting, and neutral. And when I went ahead and ran a few tweets through the sentiment analysis algorithm, it was coming back with positive or negative, but it wasn't telling me trusting. Like positive didn't correlate with trusting about a third of the time. And I thought that was a lot of tweets to miss. It would be far too inaccurate.
And how do you validate whether they're even right about trusting or not trusting?
In terms of, you mean just...
Well, you're seeing an algorithm that says that this is trusting or not trusting, but how do you analyze the algorithm?
Well, the algorithm didn't. The algorithm was just positive or negative or neutral, and they were basing that on a machine. It's a machine learning algorithm. So,
right. But how do you know it's right?
How do I know? It wasn't right.
Right. That's my point.
Right.
So to me, that wouldn't have worked.
Right.
That's problematic.
Yeah, it was far too vague, I guess, was the problem with the algorithm. So, I'm essentially building my own algorithm. And I mean, in the future, we could do a machine learning algorithm with this. It would not be difficult. I'm not a machine learning guru, and I didn't really have time to do it. And it's such a small data set that it wouldn't have made sense to spend that much time on it. So I am evaluating it. I have a list of key points to evaluate in terms of sentiment, in terms of which trusting concept it's using, if it's lacking trust or it's distrust. And actually, all of these things are in the outline too. So if you wanted to see the methodology, it is in the outline. And to help reduce bias, I'm actually going to have someone else look at it, Darshan, and do this, and then we'll average them.
I feel like I'm in the Civil War where I just got conscripted.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It'll all be good, and they'll be averaged at the end to help reduce bias. So it actually, and I will show you on the next slide, it's actually working. So it's coming together pretty well. And at the bottom, you can see the total. It says total score, applicable tweets, etc. The trust score, and again, the methodology is in the outline. But I set it up so that the spreadsheet will automatically populate these fields for me, which saves a lot of time. So it is just literally looking to see, did I use the word trusting, and then it's going to plunk in how many times I used it, things like that. So it's just a little time saver, but I wanted to show what it looks like because it's kind of fun.
So hold on, let's sort of analyze that. So okay. I'm on Repatha and Dupexent together. Could never get humor. It's a good one though. So overall sentiment, trusting. So how did you even know that that's a relevant tweet?
Well, it is a relevant tweet because according to the list of requirements for relevance, it needs to be talking about, now again, it's in the outline and I don't have it in front of me, but actually let me see if I can find it. Do I have it out? Actually, I have the sentiment analysis out, but I don't have the relevance analysis out. So basically, does it talk about taking the drug? Is there a discussion of, I have taken it, I will take it, I want to take it? Does it have to do with the proper use of the drug? So if it's just about a commercial, then it's not relevant. Like there are a lot of tweets that have to do with the commercials, like, oh, I love the commercial jingle, or oh, I hate the commercial jingle, or the commercial jingle, it's in my head. What do I do? Well, that's not about the drug. So that's not relevant. Also, tweets that are political, that don't have to do with the drugs. And this will come up too in the next slide, I believe. If it's a tweet that is talking about a political figure and it just mentions the drug in passing, not what the drug does, not their feelings about the drug, but just, this politician did not support the use of this drug in this formulary. That's really not relevant either, because what I'm trying to figure out is patient sentiment. So if it looked like a personal tweet, but it could be, from a healthcare provider who's tweeting on their own, they're indicating that these are their opinions, I left it in. I considered it a relevant tweet. It just has to be about the drug product or the uses of the drug product or the cost of the drug product. I was actually kind of amazed at how many different sorts of tweets were not relevant. The things that because I'm not actually a big social media person. I don't really get on Twitter. So I wasn't really familiar with, the bantering that goes on. But I would say on average, probably 40% of tweets are not relevant to the drug. Just, pulling that out of the air.
Fair enough.
So yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it is a challenge to try and figure this out. And I kind of wish that I had a computer algorithm that could do it for me. But again, someone has to build the algorithm. So that's not going to be completely free of bias either. All right, shall we move on? Have we beaten this poor dead horse enough, or do we have some more?
We have.
Okay. We'll let the horse rest. So after I created these spreadsheets, which you saw in the last slide, and I got the information out of it, and then I created a new spreadsheet called the Twitter data analysis, and you can see a little screenshot of it here. And basically, I just took my findings from the spreadsheet and I put them in. And if you look at the far right, you can see where it says final Twitter. And actually, it's final Twitter score got cut off, but it's the total score, which is the sum of trusting, distrusting, and neutral, divided by the number of relevant tweets. And that will give you the total score. If it's above 0, it is more trusting than neutral. If it is negative, then it's more distrusting than neutral. And so far, Chantix is the most trusted, with Cosentyx second and Dupixent is third. People really seem to like Chantix. They really do. And that struck me as funny because I remember the SNL commercials about it from about, I don't know, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering how that would affect it.
I don't know if it's your screen capture or something else. What I find interesting is the fact that benevolence and integrity.
Yeah, there was none.
Really?
There was none. And yeah, it was all about attunement and competence. And attunement, just to sort of summarize it really quickly, it was mostly used for believing that the brand met the goals of the patient. So for the Chantix patients, it was, I want to quit smoking. This drug, it gets me, right? The drug is helping me quit smoking. But it was different than the drug works. The drug works is competence, because it says the company knows what they're doing. They have advanced knowledge. They have put the advanced knowledge into creating this drug that I understand how to take, and it works. That's competence. So, you can have both together too. They're not mutually exclusive.
What I also find interesting is that your results are sort of biased in that the more tweets there are, the more of an indicator of trust it is. So you could theoretically trust something, but not talk about it as much, and that would lower your score.
That is possible. That is possible. I was hoping that by adding neutral as a 0, that it would kind of balance if there was a lot of negative or positive sentiment. And again, a lot of tweets that say nothing, I mean, they are neutral, right? You're not giving a positive nod. You're not shaking your fist.
I'm not even referring to the neutral. I'm referring to just volume of tweets.
Just volume of tweets.
Because your volume of tweets. So I'm looking at Cosentyx as an example.
Mm-hmm.
There are fewer tweets there, which results in. I'm trying to understand how this works, to be honest.
Okay.
But you've got fewer tweets, but I guess it actually still results in a high enough score than Dupixent, which has more tweets, but results in a lower score.
True, but it has fewer relevant tweets, and that was what I was discussing in terms of, do you use total tweets or relevant tweets when you're trying to, consider the sentiment analysis?
Yeah.
And the example was that Dupixent had 83 retweets that had to do with the Australian Minister of Health, and it was mentioning a few different drugs that he did not put on, or he did not push to have on the national formulary.
But why is that Dupixent's fault one way or the
it's
other?
not. That's why I excluded it.
Okay. Making sure.
So that's why it's showing 148 tweets, but only 32 are relevant.
Got it. Okay.
Right. So I just wanted to exclude things like that because, of course, that really has nothing to do at all with the drug. It's really political.
Yeah.
So that was why I excluded them. But, it's possible that just having more tweets could bias the score. Now, if anybody has, an alternate way that I should possibly be calculating this, I mean, I don't really want to weight any of these scores more than any other of the scores. I feel like they're all equally, they matter equally as much, the positive, the negative, the trusting or distrusting, and the neutral. I felt like they all had an equal amount of relevance. I don't know. If somebody has a better idea, I would love to hear it.
Fair enough.
I'm not a big statistician, but so I could have missed something, definitely.
No, I like it.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right, we'll keep going. Oh, that was the end. That was like the shortest slideshow in history right there.
So that was really all we were recapping today.
That was really it. Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll come back next week and see. Hopefully, the Twitter analysis will be done, and I can share some final bits with that, and maybe share some of the web analysis.
That sounds awesome.
Okay.
Let me ask you this question: will sharing the Twitter analysis bias the results?
Well, I would hope not.
I'm guessing no, because the research will be done at that point. Or
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not doing the full
I can't imagine that there would be any great changes to design at this point. I've already, designed it. So, I mean, I can't think of why it would bias the results.
Well, it could bias if someone else is listening and then go, I want to change the results, so they keep tweeting about something one way or the other.
That's true, but I won't share, aside from the, I just showed a screenshot of the design of the Excel spreadsheet. I won't be sharing any direct information about the tweets. And actually, because I've already pulled them, it no longer matters. That was the only bit that could be subject to change. But unless a pharma company completely redesigns its website before next week, I'm not sure how it would make a difference. And good luck. That would be a big thing to do in a week.
Fair enough. If anyone has any questions or comments, where can they find this information again?
tinyurl.com/model of trust.
Very cool. And thank you, Angela. We'll talk next week and discuss where she is with her write-up.
Thank you, Darshan.